Good morning. It's day 2 of the trip. We're in London today, and we plan to do a number of touristy items later today. This morning we're going for afternoon tea at Kensington Gardens, which is close to where we're staying. It's also a really giant park. I'll show you a map of it later. But even though it's called afternoon tea, we're doing it for breakfast today. So we're doing it at 10 a.m. and it's we got about 45 minutes or so before we have to be there. So that gives us a little bit of time to tour the grounds. And then we're probably going to go to Tower Bridge and Tower of London and use our London City Pass today to try out a few different places. We're not even sure exactly what we want to do. We have some ideas and we're just going to figure out where they are and how to get there. So come and join us on our journey through London today. Some interesting features. So you have these kind of modern looking buildings. I'm sure they're old, but they're, modern, kind of refurbed. And then you have this old kind of like arch in the original brick. Of course, everyone knows that British drivers drive on the left side of the road, whereas we in America drive on the right side of the road. But one thing, in areas that we've noticed that have a lot of tourists, they do have this on the ground, like, look right. And of course on the other side, look left, to make sure that you are looking the correct way. Because if I came up to the street, my natural inclination is to look left, as opposed to looking right. So they give you a little hint, which I think is nice. I mean, honestly, you should look both ways because you never know what's going to happen on all streets. But this is a great reminder if you're not used to it. And here it is, Kensington Gardens, along with Hyde Park over there on the upper right. We are here pretty much just in the corner of Kensington Gardens. And the place that we're having our high tea is this place over here, someplace over here. I'm not sure where in one of those buildings, but that's where we're having it.
About 45 minutes.
And so we have 45 minutes to kind of run around the park, which you can see it's pretty huge. They definitely love their parks here. We just happen to run a park. As we walk, you run around across a park practically all over the place, which is really nice. If you live in a city, parks are a great idea. Sometimes you need to get back to nature. And it's surrounded by different underground, so like Queensway's up there, Lancaster Gate's over there. There's a whole bunch of different South Kensington. So getting here is real easy, even if you're not staying in the area. We happen to be staying in the area, so it only took us, 20, 30 minutes to walk here. But there's a lot of history steeped here, like the Diana, Princess of Wales Memorial Fountain, which a lot of people go to. And then there's a Lido restaurant, which is fairly famous. But we're gonna run around a little bit. Henry Moore Arch.
Grandfather of modern sculpture.
Buckhill Shelter, which just means like a gazebo type thing. And bandstand. So lots of stuff going on here. Lots of joggers this morning and people out walking their dogs, because it's still pretty early in the morning for a Sunday. It's 9 a.m., 9:13. But so here's the park. We're gonna run around a little bit before our reservation. There's the palace behind there, but this is Queen Victoria. We were noticing some features, like her fingers have always had trouble in the past, so either they've been reattached or I'm just reading it wrong. I think there's actually rings on there now that I think about it to make it look like they were put on, but I think they might be rings now that I look up closely. And then there's an inscription in front of the palace. Go ahead, Josh.
Here in front of the palace where she was born, and then I'm actually...
And where she presided until her ascension, her Royal Kensington subjects erected this statue, the work of her
daughter. It is
daughter. Oh, that's right. I remember hearing about this. Her daughter did
this piece, which is pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So
I gotta say,
Queen Victoria,
hearing about that one.
Very nice statue.
Her daughter did it. That's wonderful. HRH, Princess. I can't read the rest of that. It's Her Royal Highness.
Matisse? Can't tell. It's hard to read. It's just incredible how historic everything is here. So you come to this park, which has been here for a while, granted, and then you have this nice little sitting area, and it is really nice. And it was erected by the Silver Thimble Fund in 1919. So this little thing here is over 100 years old. and is still standing for people just to come and sit. I have formed a new opinion today. I always thought that because people drove on the left here, that the natural inclination of people would be to walk the same way, right? Like right now we're walking on the left side, and the people walking against us would be walking on their left side. But what I've discovered is people are just going to walk wherever they damn well please, or four abreast, like the people behind us. No shame to them. There's not blocking anybody. But yeah, so sometimes we're on the right, and there's people coming right at us, and sometimes we're on the left, and there's people coming right at us. I think it just doesn't matter. Part of that, I think, is because it's such a metropolitan city that, sure, maybe the Londoners are used to doing that, but since there's so many people who are not Londoners, and the natural tradition in most countries is to be on the right, I think that's what people do. We find ourselves doing that because we're so used to it. When we get on a walkway, we move to the right-hand side, and then we don't think to move to the left until somebody moves over. We've been getting better at it, but it is a little bit of difference when you're here. Something to think about. Just out looking over the lake. Bunch of swans and ducks and pigeons. Lots of different kinds of birds. But it's nice. See lots of people jogging, like you'd expect on a Sunday morning. But just people out enjoying their parks. I mean, when you live in a big city like this is your chance to get back to nature. I mean, heck, in Denver, we have a park near our house, and we spend a lot of time there. Mostly walking or running, but pretty nice, huh? There's these buoys out there too, and the buoys are numbered. I'm not sure what they're for. If there's maybe some kind of races or something that happen. Or does it mean there's something underneath? I don't know. But you can see the buoys too. This is the pavilion where we'll be having our afternoon tea. They also serve traditional breakfast. So it's not just afternoon tea. And they serve lunch too, so it's just an overall kind of cafe here in the park. Looks beautiful. I wouldn't even mind sitting outside. We walked partially over here from where the palace is through this walkway, which is pretty enough right now, but if it's in full bloom, I bet it would be amazing, because they have this kind of greenish stuff going through. I think it's called a ramblin' rose. That's what we saw somewhere else. So if this was all covered in roses, wouldn't this be gorgeous? More gorgeous. And they also have, this is what we actually used to walk over there, except for this last bit, sort of a walkway, because there's stairs that lead up to this area. So if you are stair averse, then they have a little kind of like beautiful winding garden path, which is very nice. And that's the actual Kensington Palace over there. You can get tickets to go in there, look around the portrait galleries, and in the corner there's a gift shop and a cafe. Well, the table is already fancy. Look at the china and the plates, the pattern. Each place supposedly has its own like pattern that denotes the place. I don't know if that's true here, but that's what I've read in the past.
The crown from Kensington Palace, so I can see that being
Yeah.
true.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, and like the crowns and everything from Kensington Palace. But and then you've got your different kinds of sugars over here, lumps. They had a selection of teas or coffees you could choose from. I chose the traditional English breakfast tea, and Josh got the Earl Grey tea, which I'm excited to try because I don't know if I've ever tried it. And, you know, it's the favorite tea of my favorite captain, Jean-Luc Picard. So here's a chance to give it a go. I'm not very adventurous when it comes to teas. I like tea, but I haven't had a lot of varieties of it. So here is an opportunity to try that. There's Josh pouring his, they came over and said blue flowers tea. And I'm like, we didn't order blue flowers. It's Earl Grey with blue flowers. Are you putting any milk in there?
I'm gonna try it first.
I was gonna have Josh crap, apparently. I mean, I watch a lot of British shows, right? Like Agatha Christie and those kinds of things. And they always put the the cream in first, or the milk in first before they put the tea, and supposedly, yeah, I think it depends on the individual, but supposedly one's more sophisticated than another. I just think that's silly, but it is what it is. Afternoon tea has arrived, and what afternoon tea is, you have sandwiches down here. One of them is a smoked salmon, and there's a cucumber sandwich, and there's some kind of egg salad in there, and I'm not really sure what this one is, but we're gonna try it. There's one for each of us. And then we have scones here, and we have clotted cream and jam. I don't know what flavors those jams are. They're kind of reddish, like a strawberry or something.
I thought I could tell you.
Anyway, they're usually orange scented scones, and that's clotted cream there and jam. And then up here you have a selection of treats.
They're both strawberry.
So essentially it's 3 courses. You have a scone, you have sandwiches, and then you have your sweets up here, along with your tea. I had the egg salad sandwich. It was very good. And this is the salmon one. And normally I'm not a huge fan of salmon, but this is actually pretty good. It tastes more like when I have salmon sushi. It's lightly smoked. And then this is the scone. I just put the clotted cream on it. I've never had clotted cream before. I wasn't sure what to expect. It's like butter. Like it spreads like butter. Yeah, it doesn't taste like butter. It's just a cream, but got to put some jam on it too, because that's also very traditional. And it looks like we got strawberry for both. So there's Josh preparing his. We're putting the cream on the bottom and then the jelly on the top. I'm sure you can do it either way, but this is what I've seen people do. There's our milk for our... So he hasn't had any yet. I want to get his honest reaction. What do you think?
Yes, once you get the mix of the flavors, it's actually very good. We've decided that the clotted cream isn't a whipped cream. It's much more buttery in terms of flavor too.
Yeah, it spreads like butter. Flavor. And it's not exactly the taste of butter, but it has more of a buttery flavor than it does a cream flavor, at least to me.
And mixing it with the jelly, or the jam is quite delicious.
Yeah, it's very, very good. The one of the other sandwiches, a couple of them were very egg salad-like. This one was an egg salad, but then had some sort of flavor in it, and Josh is going to describe what he thought.
The first hit of it, the first flavor, was a bit of smokiness, and I think being American, I'm like, ooh, barbecue. And then like, no, because it hits later in the back, and it becomes much more like a curry, which makes so much more sense in England.
Yeah,
it makes so much more
curry.
sense overall.
I thought the color looked very much like curry, but it could have just been kind of the egg, or maybe some other thing they put in there.
I am not an egg salad fan. Chris knows this. I make boiled eggs for him. I do deviled eggs for Chris, but I'm not a fan.
But he doesn't like
this. This I actually like quite a bit. So very nice surprise.
I slowed down when I got to the desserts. This one here is just kind of like very chocolatey tart. It's delicious, chocolatey. This one here is more citrusy. And the citrus is the most powerful flavor in that. I'm not sure what the kind of cream down here is, but it's very lemony, orangey citrus. This I thought was going to be kind of a scone because it has that scone shape. It looks like it's clotted cream and jam, but it's actually soft. Anyway, they're all good. I just don't want any more food. I know it looks like not a lot when they bring it over, but you get full pretty quickly. And of course you're drinking tea too, so that's taking up space in your stomach. But we made a fairly good dent. Josh has gotten through both of his desserts, and he still has half of a scone left, and then that one over there. We'll see if he gets through that, but I'm pretty much done at this point. Even the toilets are only for royals. I'm kidding. This is wonderful. I really enjoy this sign with everyone having a crown. Speaking of toilets, this is probably a good time to tell you that when you have an opportunity like this, where you're at a restaurant, use the toilet before you go. Toilets are sometimes few and far between, and the public ones aren't always that great. Not that we've experienced it ourselves, but we've done a lot of research and videos, and everyone always says that you should use the toilet wherever you are before you leave, if you're at a restaurant or something, because you can always use it. But you may not be able to find one as easily out and about. The thing about afternoon tea is that it's not cheap. It's a total of £85.50, but there was a service fee added in there, so they don't charge tip here. One thing I have noticed is that there's occasionally a discretionary fee, and I don't know if that's just because they charge it to tourists or not, but anyway, this was the total cost for the two of us for what we had. So it's not the most cost-effective thing you could eat here, but it is an experience, and that's what you're paying for. We're here at the Notting Hill Gate Station, where we didn't expect to be. We were looking for the tube that was going to take us to Tower Hill, because we're heading to the Tower of London right now, and we went into the wrong subway station. But the nice thing is, of course, they're all connected, so we were able to go the opposite direction to come to Notting Hill Gate, and then we'll take the right train that we intended to be on. So it's a really easy way to get around, even if you make a mistake. One thing I wanted to mention about coming through here, so normally you have to have like a subway card or something to use the subway. That's how it's always been in the past. Prior to that, it was tokens that you used. But now, as long as you have a like Apple Watch with Apple Pay, or a watch that has Google Pay on it, or if you have a card that has one of the chips on it that you can pay contactless payment, then you can use it when you go in and just tap it on the turnstile, and then you tap it again when you leave, so it knows how much to charge you. So it's a pretty good way to go about that. We haven't had to buy any tickets. We're just paying, by each fare, and without having to go to a ticket booth or anything. It's pretty cool. And here we are at the Tower of London. Still trying to figure out how to get in and look around, but this is the outside. Looks very defensible. Tiny little windows, a difficult to scale wall. Very nice. All right, let's figure out how to get in this thing. Here's another angle. And some information about slavery in the tower. Feel free to pause and zoom in as you need. They're doing some construction right now, but over there is where they used to do executions. And there's a guide here telling stories about it and getting the public involved. It's real nice. But anyway, that's where that happened. And all the scaffolding would be built, and they'd kill people, and 40,000 people would show up for it. Amazing. This is the medieval palace, and we're gonna go out on the battlements too. I've always wanted to go out on a battlement, but here's where the path will take us. Oh, wow. These walls are hundreds of years old. So are those electric lights. Kidding.
Defended by a vast new moat to make it even stronger. He also added the imposing
a medieval projector.
below where we're standing now.
Look at one of the towers onto the bridge, or onto the river.
No.
You can see the Tower Bridge over there. Some info. Free to pause. Feel free to pause on this.
You might even bump into one of its royal residents. First, let us introduce you to their stories.
More info. If you're a history nerd like we are, this stuff is awesome. A bedchamber fit for a king. Giant fireplace. Stained glass here, and then I think we're in the throne room. That throne looks so simple, but it's where a king would sit. And another giant fireplace, because castles were notoriously drafty and cold. Here we are on the battlements to defend the tower. And there's Tower Bridge over there. Yeah, you come out of the battlements, so if somebody was raiding, they'd have to get over that wall over there. Then they'd have to come to this wall. Look how tall it is. Yeah. There's a superstition about the tower where if the ravens ever leave the tower, then the tower would fall. And so they cultivate having ravens here. So there's just a couple down there. And I hear a couple squawking. Oh, there's one on the right on the wall there. He's being very vocal. We have ravens in our neighborhood, quite a number of them. So there they are again. Pretty cool. I love little superstitions like that. So if you read this, you'll find out that the king's court traveled, so he was a king on the move. We also have some decorations or like pottery from the time. Pottery. It's used pottery from the time. Sorry for the flashing. The lights are on a different frequency here than they are in the US, and so they'll flash sometimes in videos. These are pieces of a game called Tables, which was later developed into backgammon. And then we have a chess piece here, carved out of rock crystal. Little toy knight, rather battered, like it says. It's a portable altarpiece that you could just take with you and pray wherever you needed to. And then a chalice, very holy grail looking. So we've come out another tower here to a different battlement, and then there's like the Cradle Tower there. So there's so many buildings inside here. When you think of a keep, often you think it's just kind of like one big building, right? But no, it's just, layers of building. You've got a big wall around it, and it keeps stuff inside. So there's like a tower over there. We came in a tower over here, which is part of the palace. And then there are salt towers over there. And you have other buildings, and then other buildings over there too. So we're gonna try to hit as many as we can. Oh, there's a cannon over there too, down on the ground. From the Royal Armories. I like this look of a soldier defending the tower. Very minimalist, but gets the point across. He has a sword on the side in case he has to go hand to hand. Well, even closer hand to hand. But otherwise he can use his halberd to defend off people trying to climb the walls. So there's carvings in the wall, and some of them, this pierced heart's a reminder of the wounds of Christ, was left by a Jesuit. And these ones here, and in case you can't read them, it has down here like this person, John Moynton, imprisoned 1554 for assaulting a member of parliament, and then somebody 1574 accused of importing a Catholic book, and 1550 probably a Cornish rebel. But yeah, they inscribed their names on here. Trying to murder Elizabeth I by poisoning or placing gunpowder under her bed. Very interesting. So if you want to see something that somebody carved 460 years ago, there it is. My goodness, just the age of everything in here is mind-boggling. That some person back then did this while imprisoned here. So the towers essentially connect the battlements. Like we came this way, and then we went into a tower, and now we're going this way and to another tower over there. The Broad Arrow Tower, yep. These are the back sides of some buildings that are there. We haven't gone in these buildings yet. I don't even know what's there. I knew it. I knew we could defend a tower if we had to. That's so funny. Fortress health and safety. Always use protective clothing in a medical surgeon. Helmets that I think you can try on if you want to. Crossbow. Yeah. It's a heavy crossbow, so strong. You can usually tell because the heavy crossbow is too heavy for you to pull this back. You actually have to crank the crossbow to pull it back because it's so taut. And then of course there's crossbow bolts right there. And I'm sure this was a fireplace because it'd get very cold and drafty up here. And then this one's a light crossbow because you could pull it back on your own and just hook it there, add your bolt, and then just press down on your trigger and it would fire away. Well, maybe you couldn't. This actually looks like a loader, so I think you might actually have to connect that in there to pull it back. Maybe it was that taut, but it wasn't so taut that you had to use a crank. Very interesting. I play Dungeons and Dragons, so it's real nice to see actual versions of the weapons in there. And do not allow attackers to climb wall. Fire through arrow loop ahead if attackers are detected. These are the things that we would be protecting in this tower. 2 precious jugs, goblets, vessels, a lion-shaped salt cellar, gilded circlet, a bangle, scepters, swords, coronation spurs, jewel-encrusted coronation robes, lances, golden rose, golden seal, a lot of ceremonial stuff. Another figure defending the tower, almost like a ghost. Yeah, this one's a crossbowman. Sword on the side in case he had to go into hand-to-hand. Here's sort of an overhead 3D model of what it looks like. It says you are here, so we're like right down there. And I like how they have peasants outside. And then this is where the peasants break in and loot. And then they killed the archbishop way back there. And we have palace guards over here too, along with beef eaters like the guy over there. They're oh well, actually there's probably a better picture over those 2 guys over there. There they are, in the beef eater costumes versus the royal guard costumes. Here is where they keep the crown jewels. And unfortunately, we just went through it, and unfortunately I couldn't film anything in there because you can't take pictures or any video. And I get that because they don't want people to see their security and try to come up with plans, that type of thing. Although there were areas that didn't have the jewels that I thought, well, I don't see why you couldn't take a picture of that. But anyway, I'm not making the rules. But that's where the crown jewels are, in there. And it was pretty cool, just the enormity of some of the diamonds and the sapphires, the extravagance of it. They showed the most recent coronation with Queen Elizabeth. In, what was it,
1953.
53.
She's about 70
and
years
so,
next year, which is
yeah, so there's like a little seated area where they're projecting it happening. There's no sound, it's just all visuals. But she's holding the scepter, and she has the crown, and she has the sword, and she has the orb, and it's just incredible. Anyway, if you have an opportunity to come here, I highly suggest it. I'm sorry I can't show you any. You probably can find some videos of it on YouTube, but the enormity of the gems is staggering. The amount and enormity of some of them, like the Kohinoor diamond that they took from India, is put into the crown, and it's just huge, incredible. There's a couple of crows here, or excuse me, ravens.
Yeah.
Oh no, these are bigger. I was saying we have crows in our neighborhood. These are ravens. They are huge in comparison. They're just hanging out near the rubbish bin, probably waiting for somebody to come feed them or throw something in there they can eat. Look at them. They're incredible. They're huge. Oh my goodness. Well, how nice of them to come take pictures with us. The roads here are a good example of what you might face. There's some that are flatter, and there's some that are cobblestone, and boy, I tell you, if you're not used to walking on cobblestone, it's difficult on your feet. Out of the Tower of London to the Tower Bridge, and our city pass covers this too, so we need to find where the entrance is. I think it's up ahead. On 22nd June 1886, Edward, Prince of Wales, lays the foundation stone for Tower Bridge. And if you come to London, there's a lot of stairs. Just be careful and be ready for it.
There's more right there.
848 workers were employed at any one time. 8 years and cost £1 million. Think about what £1 million would be. Actually, that doesn't say if it's converted or not, but if that's in money at the time, that is a huge amount of money. Some more info about it. 31 million bricks. People digging out the foundation in these cages, wearing rudimentary suits like this. They should be steady men of good physique, capable of sustaining considerable body strain. I wonder if that was the ad. Of course, you could just walk across the bridge normally, but if you want to pay, you can go through the exhibit, and you can also walk across the top area of the bridge, which is where we're heading now. And it was covered by our city pass, so we didn't pay anything extra for it. Little movie. When you get up to the top of the stairs, there were a lot of stairs. You can tell I'm out of breath.
And we're at sea level, and we're still
I know. Exactly. Should be superpowered. A view from the upper part of the tower. Oh, there's the Dixie Queen over there. Another one of the river boats. Those are usually tours. We're gonna take a boat after this. We're not sure where the dog is. I'm kind of using this as a way to figure that out. But that's there's one side of the river. I'm pretty sure looking east. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's east. And there's another tower over there, but I don't see anybody in that one, so I think only this one's open, so you can't really see that way very well, but I'm pretty sure that's west. They have these slidey doors you can open and take unobstructed pictures. Ooh, that feels good too. It's warm after all those stairs. And of course, as many things at the time, I mean, like, we think of it as being beautiful and awesome and iconic now, but here's a example of what somebody said at the time. Niggled and meaningless ornament, our ugliest public work.
There it is.
Minder grote opening. Die is gewoon aan die kant, dat je boven het wegdek zit, of aan die kant, dat je boven het water zit.
See through and walk along.
Ja, precies. Ik verwacht van, je kan je nog een beetje...
It's crazy.
Net op die rand al.
Ah, question solved. It was £1 million in Victorian money, which, you know, is a lot more now. I'm sure this would be $1 billion project nowadays.
That's a great, I love the movement of it too.
Open up. Yeah. Brilliant
60
engineering.
seconds to open up is what I just read too.
Oh wow, that's not that long at all.
No.
When you walk in, if you're a kid, they give you one of these. It's just interesting stuff for you to do, since it's probably boring for a kid, but I grabbed one anyway. And when you go through it, there are different stamps you can get. Whoops. There it is on the floor. Thank you, Josh. And then, so we got the first stamp already, and then there's another stamp over here. I can see it, so let's go stamp this. And so we have the stamp book. There's the stamp. Yeah, close enough. There you go. And that's what you do. And there are these other places, so you can see the pictures of the people. Like that one will probably be down in the engine room, and some others. So we'll look for these. I don't need to do all of them. I think it's just kind of fun.
It's fun.
Yep. And it all has to do with like cats. Like it's the cat trail, and they all have this little kitty.
And people have been
Stamping for a long time. It was only in 1976 that it switched to electric power. Wow, that doesn't feel like, I mean, it feels like long ago, but it feels like they would have switched to that a lot sooner. Another one of those walkways that you can see through with all the little people down there and the vehicles. I'm a little afraid of heights, not tons, but This isn't quite sparking
At all, yeah.
my fear of heights. Ooh. Remarkably, the bridge didn't suffer as much damage as you might think during World War I, even though there was a lot of bombing going on. And there was also a time when a ship hit the bridge. And another one, Poppy the Painter, painted the bridge. All right, we're getting that done. Oh, and they also got stickers while we were up there. It was the stickers for glass floor. I did it, Tower Bridge.
We put one on
We put one on here to have it, and then we also have extras for our board at home. And there's the kitty again. Meow, meow. Pretend to paint the bridge now. Meow, meow. We used our London City Pass, or the London Pass, to pop onto the Uber boat. And so we're leaving the dock right now. Sorry, the window's kind of dirty. But this will take you, it seems like it's actually a form of transportation, being an Uber boat. You can just pay when you get on. Ours came with the pass, and we're not heading anywhere in particular. We just wanted to go for a nice ride on the river. And here we are. There's the walkie-talkie building. And we're heading, what way did we choose? West. We're heading west, which is actually further west than we've been on this trip.
For London Bridge, exit the front, thank you.
London Bridge, that's where we just were. No, this is London Bridge, not Tower Bridge. We were just Tower. London is where we were yesterday that we walked across to go to the market. Off the boat and now on a bus, which was also part of the London Pass. So we only get 1 day of it though. It's a 1 day hop on hop off. It's only good for 1 day. So we're just gonna ride this into our next thing tonight, which is a Jack the Ripper tour, walking tour. We stopped in for dinner before our Jack the Ripper tour in the same area near Tower Bridge. Anyway, Josh is going to tell you a story about Pizza Express that we stopped into.
This is obviously not the same one I went to 30 years ago or so, but where we live.
Thank you.
There was one of just a few blocks away, and I mean literally like 2 or 3 blocks away from where we live. We would go there regularly, and I had 3 roommates, two female roommates and a male roommate, but we would go there probably on nearly a weekly basis. And what I remember was at some point, I don't know why we went with him, but I'm pretty sure it boiled down to a fight, but it was just my roommate Jeff and I walking in together, and as we walked in, we were actually stopped and let in like, will the ladies be joining you? Because they knew us, we were there that regularly. And we just remember giving a look like, no. It was one of those where we were like, it was definitely because of something angry, and we just sat down the 2 of us to eat, but it was such a regular place because it was very affordable. It's still fairly affordable. It was very affordable. It was something on a student's budget we could afford to do regularly, and it was really
well. Yeah, when Josh described it, I thought it was kind of like this, small place, serve pizza kind of thing. Like this one here seems kind of fancy, but you're right. There may be different ones at different parts of the city.
It wasn't as if it were low quality. It just was small.
No, I was just thinking sort of small.
Well lit. It was relatively new.
Like the kinds of places we go in New York City, like hole in the wall kind of places.
A little bit bigger
this
than
doesn't feel like that. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it. We ordered some still water, and they brought us just tap water, which is fine.
Which is fine by us.
And then I also ordered a Coke Zero. Normally I wouldn't. I've been trying to avoid having soda with my dinners because what's the point of paying for that when I can have some at home? Although I'm not really home, but we do actually have some in our hotel room. But I really wanted the caffeine because, I slept great last night, but I'm still working
But it's
off
still rough.
not much sleep from when we were on the plane. But I'm much better than I was. But we still have, and 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock to go, and
Thank you
our
so much.
dough balls have appeared. Ooh, those look really good. There's lots of different kinds. These are just the plain ones with some like garlic butter, but they also have like ones that have pesto on them. And yeah, we're gonna dig into these. They look good. And I have some of my soda. Here's our pizza. We got the pollo ad astra. Essentially, it's a chicken, and there's like some tomatoes on it, peppers. Or actually, these might be peppers and onions. I forget what it said. Anyway, it's actually pretty good. And you actually cut it yourself. Like they bring you a cutter, and so we just cut it ourselves. But it's very good. We got the Roma style, which is kind of a thinner crust, which I actually like thinner crust rather than like really thick crust. We also had gotten the dough balls, which were good, but unremarkable. Other than that. Yeah, but yeah, so I dug in a little. It's delicious.
I even like
Fish eating. All right, done with dinner. Hey, there's the Tower of London behind me right over there. Look at that. Anyway, we're over here waiting for our Jack the Ripper tour, which starts close. And it's free, but you can tip afterwards, which is what we plan to do. Somewhere between 20 or 30 pounds, depending on how it goes. But just a little bit longer. Now the guy with the umbrella is our tour guide, and here are other people on the tour, so it's not just us. That's awesome. We weren't sure at first because there's a number of tours that lead from here apparently, but this is the right one. I may or may not record a lot of this. I don't know what his policy is. This is probably his livelihood, so we'll see how much I can get. This isn't necessarily part of the tour, but this is the Roman Wall. I mean, this is literally from the 2nd century, what we're looking at here. Isn't this incredible? Like, it's just mind-boggling how old this is, and the people that it's seen, and the people that have touched it, and just incredible. Look, you can see down there how far it goes, and then all the way at the top, it's about 15 feet tall. Incredible. It's got to be more than 50. Like, I'm 6 foot. It's more than 3 of me, I think. You just learned this is an example of an old Victorian workhouse. This was the women's entrance, and over there was the men's entrance. And you would do workhouse stuff where there'd be, dozens, possibly hundreds of people in a very small space working, and 16 hours a day. Crazy. That is going to do it for us today, the 2nd day of the trip. Boy, we've been out for a long time. We left the room at 8:30 this morning, and we just got back.
10 after 10 or so.
It's about 20 after 10, and boy, we did a lot today. It feels, we did obviously you saw in the video earlier that we did the afternoon tea for breakfast, but it feels like a whole other day. Like, so much has gone on today that it doesn't even seem like it's the same day, but it is. And the tour was great. Again, I didn't feel comfortable filming, but we did take a selfie with our guide. Jamie was his name. And we ended up paying him 20 pounds each. Yeah, because he was great. Really good. He was very knowledgeable. Was very friendly. Very humorous. It's a very, dark topic. Just as Josh said, it's a dark topic, and he did go over some details and such. But it was, there was levity to it, so it just didn't feel like you were just bogged down the whole time. We had a good sized group, about 15, 20 people. Yeah. And he took us to multiple locations and kind of talked about why those locations were important. And he also had visuals. He had a tablet with him, and he would show some pictures. And he told us right at the beginning that, like, if you're averse to, like, somewhat, I'm not gonna say gory details because he didn't go into that. It was all very like almost clinical. Yeah, almost clinical. Like, this part was cut, this part was missing, that kind of thing. And he did have some pictures, mostly of just the people, nothing that graphic. But there was one that was a little more graphic, and but he warned us each time. So if somebody was averse to that, they could cover their ears, they could close their eyes. When he was showing the video, he left it all up to that, no judgment. So yeah, it was great. It was fantastic. And as part of that, you saw earlier, we went by the wall. the Roman wall. I had wanted to see that, but I didn't fit it in a plan anywhere, and well, there we were. Anyway, thanks for joining us today. We're gonna start tomorrow. The only thing we have planned tomorrow is
One thing we have timed.
Yeah, the only thing that we have planned tomorrow that's actually like a specific plan is the Globe of Theater. We're gonna go see Much Ado About Nothing at the Shakespeare's Globe of Theater. Up until that point, and that's I think 6:30 tomorrow night. Or no, actually I think it's later. It's like 7:30. It's late. Anyway, up until that point, we're gonna do some other stuff that we have on our city pass. A couple of the churches. Definitely Westminster Abbey that we couldn't go today because it's a working church. Probably the British Museum, although you don't have to pay to get in there.
Maybe Piccadilly.
Probably Piccadilly. So those are things that we have ideas for, but no firm plans yet. But we'll figure it all out. Thanks again for joining us.